A History of Southern Missouri and Northern Arkansas by William Monks, published in 1907. Colonel Monks, commissioned by the Governor, number 48. The Governor at once appointed and commissioned the author major of state troops and ordered him to at once proceed and organize a company of militia, and at the same time sent 100 Springfield rifles and 100 rounds of ammunition for each gun. And as soon as it was organized, he was to proceed to Oregon County for the purpose of aiding and supporting Captain Alley, who had been appointed enrolling officer of Oregon County, to enroll and form companies for the purpose of aiding the sheriff in enforcing the civil law. He was to pursue, arrest, and drive out those roving bands of murderers from the counties of Oregon, Shannon, and Dent. The author at once organized a company in Howell County, composed of men who had been in the Confederate and Federal service. On Jameson and others in Oregon County, learning that the author had been appointed major, and that he was organizing, and the state was arming the men with orders to enter the counties of Oregon, Shannon, and Dent to drive out the murdering bands and aid Captain Alley in organizing a posse comitatus to aid the sheriff in enforcing the civil law, they publicly declared that old Monks might get into Oregon County, but that he would never get out alive. At that time, there was a secret order in the counties of Oregon and Shannon known as the Sons of Liberty. The author was informed that on a certain night they would hold a meeting on the Warm Fork of Spring River. The author made a forced march, and on reaching the place where they had assembled, surrounded the house and took all the inmates prisoners, among them being the sheriff of the county and a few other prominent men. The next morning, Captain Alley met the author, put up his notices, ordering every man to come in and enroll his name. The author remained over the next day near the place, got in possession of their papers with a secret oath placed upon them, and the aims and objects, binding themselves together to prevent the enforcement of the civil law, and further binding themselves to capture or take property from any man who had been in the Federal Army, and, when it became necessary to enforce it, to shoot men down. They claimed to have lawyers connected with it, so that if they should be arrested, they were to make a pretense of a trial, and allow no man to go on to the jury except those who belonged to the order. Captain Greer, who had been a captain in the Confederate service all through the war, and afterwards was elected to the state legislature, remarked that, "I can soon tell whether those grips, obligations, and oaths were in the organization known as the Sons of Liberty." Said that old Uncle Dickie Bowles, a short time previous, came to him and informed him that the Sons of Liberty were going to hold a meeting in a big sink on the mountain, and they wanted him to come and join it. That he was looked upon as a businessman, and he didn't know anything about what was going on right at his door. That if he would come and join in a few years he would be a rich man. Captain Greer said he replied to him, "Uncle Dickie, I have always been an honest man and have worked hard, and if a man can get rich in 2 or 3 years by joining that order, there must be something dishonest in it." Old Uncle Dickie replied, "You won't be in a bit of danger in joining it, for we are so organized that the civil law can't reach us." Captain Greer said he had a son-in-law who was requested, at the same time he was, to attend the meeting, and that after the meeting he saw him and asked him what kind of an organization it was. He said his brother-in-law told him, "I dare not tell you. I took the bitterest oath that I have ever taken in my life not to reveal the workings of the order on penalty of death. But I will tell you enough. Captain, I know that you are an honest man and that organization is a damn jayhawking institution and you want nothing to do with it. Captain Greer at once sent for his brother-in-law. He came, and the signs, grips, and bylaws that were captured at the place of the meeting were submitted to him, and he said he believed they were word for word the same and contained the very same oath that they swore him to on the night that he went to hear their meeting. The author was informed that Jameson was in line and wait on the road that led from Warm Fork to Frederick Fork Township, the next place where Allie had notified them to meet, waiting for the author to pass with his men so that he might fire on them from the brush. Then the hardest task confronted the author that he ever had to meet, to study out a plan to prevent Jameson firing on his men from the brush as he marched by. He held 4 men as prisoners, whom he knew were Jameson's right-hand bowers. He had just been informed that Jameson had a spy then on the ground to learn the time the author would break camp and move in the direction of Frederick's Fork. He ordered a wagon brought up with 3 spring seats, took the 4 prisoners and set them in the 2 front seats, tied a small rope around their bodies and around each seat, with 2 guards in the back seat. Then arrested Jameson's spy, informed him what his business was, which he admitted, and said that Jameson was lying in wait to learn what time I would move out, and that he intended to fire on me as soon as I came within reach. I took him to the wagon and asked him if he was acquainted with the prisoners. He said that he was. Well, said I am going to release you, and I want you to go and tell Jameson that just as certain as he fires from the brush and kills one of my men, I will retaliate by killing these 4 men, whom I know are his right-hand bowers. The author also wrote a letter containing the same statement, and sent another man who was a Confederate with Jameson's spy to see that the message was delivered. On reaching Jameson, they delivered the message and informed him of what I had said, and told him that there was no possible chance for these men to escape, for there was a rope tied around each man's body and fastened to the spring seat, and they were also under a strong guard. The man who went to carry the dispatch said that after Jameson read it, he appeared to be in trouble and remarked, "Well, we will have to desist and not fire, for just as certain as we fire on him and kill some of his men, he is sure to kill our men." One of the prisoners, after he was placed in the wagon and heard the message sent to Jameson, remarked to the other prisoners, "We are dead men, for Jameson is sure to fire on them." We soon broke camp, and on reaching the place where Jameson had been waiting, saw the campfire and where the horses had been tied and fed. But there was not a man to be seen, neither was there a gun fired.